Hey everybody, it's Andre with the Eaglesoft Field Guide, and I'm here today on a beautiful fall morning with Melissa Cortes from Gentle Family Dentistry in Maryland. So you're not too far from
Yep.
me, almost walking distance if I was crazy enough to walk for a couple hours.
Yeah, well, might be a little crazy, but yeah,
Well, it's good to see you.
likewise.
And we are we've been talking before we started recording about ADOM, which is an old new passion for me. So, and Melissa is a FAADOM, so a
Woo woo.
fellow in the academy. So it's good to see you. It's good to have you here with me
Thank you.
today. And we're going to talk about a passion project that both of us share, which is employer notes. You know, those breakdowns that we get from when calling insurance companies and how we import that information to Eaglesoft. And you have a term for it. What do you call it? What's
Bob's breakdown of benefit.
breakdown of benefits? Okay. All right, because a lot of people have asked throughout the years in the Eaglesoft group about verification forms. You know, where do I store verification forms? How do I get that information to Eaglesoft? You know, I call an insurance company, get this breakdown of information, a breakdown of benefits, a Bob, and I get all this information, and then I scan it into Eaglesoft, but then it sits in SmartDoc, and that's about it. So tell me
Mhm.
about how you guys utilize that information.
So before I started here about 4 years ago, they have a big, massive file folder, um, and they would just update it every year, and that's what all they would do. They would just stick it there. And I said, well, that means that you're trying to search for this Bob every single time that a patient comes in, and then you're trying to look for it. Because you can't cross and have people's information on it, the personal ID numbers and all that stuff inside of other people's smart docs. So I said, why not type up your employer notes? So I have a Word document that basically has a checkbox. So there's a little box that you can click in. So it'll say Profi, then the Profi codes, and then it'll have a box that you click in, and then you can put in the frequencies, the limitations, and that's like the whole way down how we have it set up. And we also have it broken down for preventative services. They're all grouped together. We have basic services grouped together, major services, ortho, and then a couple of other questions that we ask going down the line.
Awesome. And, you know, the example I always use for how I see people getting benefits from insurance companies is and I always try to make something as crazy as possible so people understand the idea behind it. I don't expect that this is going to happen, but imagine if you were across the street from Home Depot headquarters. Home Depot has 250,000 employees. And every time you got a benefit breakdown, you got that sheet of paper for 250,000 people. And then you stored that information in SmartDoc. And imagine how many times you'd have to do that when more
Hmm.
than likely of those 250,000 people, you might have four plans from Home Depot.
Yep.
Management, people that work at the stores, people that drive the forklifts, whatever. So you have four plans. And if we just put that information into four employers, we have saved a tree worth
Yes.
of paper that we would have generated. So I'm going to share my Eaglesoft screen here, and let's do this. Share my screen. So can you see my Eaglesoft screen up now?
Yep.
Awesome. So I'm with you 100% with having a document that we can, I always say when I'm on the phone with an insurance company, I want to be able to transcribe that information into Eaglesoft or to some document quickly. What I use, and I'll show you I'll go my handouts. I actually have a little text document that I actually keep right here. And it's not a
Hmm.
Word document because Word takes a few seconds to start, where a
Okay.
text document opens immediately. So I actually
Okay.
have this saved on my desktop, and it's pretty similar in the idea of what you were talking about. And I just double click on that line. Actually, I've messed up my spacing a little bit here, but I just double click on that line and then fill in my Profi frequencies.
Okay, so yeah, that's kind of similar to what we have, except for what I do is it's broken down a little bit more significant than what that looks like. And once I'm finished, I can just copy, paste, and put it right inside the employer notes.
Awesome. And like I said, everybody has their my favorite saying is, everybody has their way to drive down to the beach or the shore, depending on where you live, right? So I
Yep.
go to Maryland beaches, people go to the Jersey Shore. Uh, here, it doesn't matter how you get there as long as you get to the beach. So the
Right.
outcome is what we're looking for, and everybody has their own sort of design to do this. So happy that whatever format you have it in, again, just you and I, we copy our information, and then we move over to our employer, and we put in our employer notes and paste it in. So ultimately, your format, my format, it's going to come out looking sort of like that. Awesome. And here's the thing, I started off working at the front desk, and one of my goals was to never ever talk to anybody else in the office. That's just kind of how I am. So I used to say, like, I would hear the gloves coming off, and I'd hear a hygienist walking up to the front to start to ask that question: Can Mary have her cleaning today? And I would go,
Mm-hmm.
look, just go to the back and click on the employer to find out if Mary can have a cleaning today. Because honestly, I don't remember. I put that information back in January. I don't remember. So hopefully I stored that information in the patient record so it would be there.
Yep.
So employer notes are a huge thing, especially, and I don't know what you're seeing. Are you seeing things like PAs being covered different than full series, or
Yes.
PANs being covered at 80%, but something else being covered, some other diagnostic information being covered at 100? And those are the kind of things that the employer notes make a big difference. So, do you think so?
Yeah, because every once in a while I'll see sometimes where they're like, well, PAs are covered at 100%, but deductible applies. And that's not the case with all employers. Most employers cover them at 100%, but you get those one specific ones where it's very meticulous in regards to that deductible. So those notes are in there.
Yeah, and here's where where I've gotten crazed about employer notes is, if I have a place on my Bob, I have to have a place in Eaglesoft that does the math for me. So in
Hmm.
those situations, I love having the notes, but if it doesn't impact estimations, I want to go deeper. So one of the things that I started doing is whatever I had on my Bob, and I'm glad you brought that line up because that'll be my new thing. I'll be saying that all day long. So I want to make sure that I actually have a service type that corresponds to to the line items I have there. So you can see I've actually broken out my diagnostic into my CBCTs, my full series, et cetera, et cetera. So I want to have some place where the percentage frequencies I definitely want to have in on that employer notes field, but I want to be able to split out and actually say, I want my FMXs to be at 100%, but I want something else like my CBCTs to show non-covered because they're in
Right.
the same diagnostic area. So I want to be able to split those things out, and I can add to it. Hold on. Because of my OCD, I always want to be as consistent as possible. So I'm going to copy and paste this description and be able to paste it in. And I'm going to put a new one in here, and I'm going to call this, let's just for the sake of it say PAs. All right. And I'm going to leave this blank because I don't know what they're going to cover. So I'm going to leave that blank. And now I have a whole new field that's going to be in my employer field. So now when I go back to list and employers, and I'm on the phone with an insurance company or get a online breakdown, I now have a place that I can put my PA coverage, and I can say this one's covered at 62%. And the deductible applies or not. In my notes, I've got my frequencies. So it's the combination of the two things that actually makes the difference all the way across the board. So I have my frequency notes and I have my percentages. So the math works, but also my
Yep.
clinical folks can see that.
Yep. We do the same thing. It's the same thing with like downgrades and coverage books and stuff like that.
Yep. It's crucial to be able to manage the practice by having that information in there.
Agreed.
Yep. The last part of that is so people understand, because some people might be looking at this video going, I never knew that was even something, that employer notes, they've been putting in like who to contact at the insurance company or something like that. They have no idea how that field has ever worked. One of the really cool things is all that hard work that somebody just did, we went to the wrong place. Once we're actually going into the patient record from the clinical area, all the hard work that you did now shows up on that insurance button right there in your notes.
Yep.
So your clinical people can view this information, and the cool thing is it's not something that they can edit. It's read only, so you don't have to worry
Yeah.
about somebody going into edit patient, edit employer, getting into the employer field, and then changing implants to 100% because some patient in the chair said they have 100% covered for implants. Right?
Right.
Yeah. So that's where you can get all your information, and then your breakdown of benefits over here. And if somebody in the back is really concerned about an outstanding claim, you can see any claims that are outstanding over here too. So they get their view of insurance without having to go through that edit patient screen and into the edit insurance, and be able to respond to a question like, how often can we replace a crown? Because we're going to have it in our frequencies. And I'm sure you have that on your list.
I do. Yes.
Any other tips and tricks that you've come up with on your breakdown that people should look into?
Honestly, for us, it just makes it easier. Like I said, when I took the practice over 4 years ago, they were just importing employer notes. I mean, I would have 4 and 5 of the same exact employer, with the same exact percentages, and it just wasn't making it this way with the employer notes, with it broken down, having the group number and things like that within the employer. They're able to see everything at a glance, and they can easily search and know that this is the same exact employer and the group number with the same exact maximum and deductible, and they don't have to do all of that work all over again because it's saved. You have it, and once you import it, every person with that group number, that employer, you'll see the notes pop in automatically once you put it in.
Yep. Yeah,
Saves a lot of time.
It's and the crazy thing is so many of us, and I'm going to say as a recovering front desk person, so many of us are doing this, and we're on this hamster wheel of calling the insurance company and get benefit breakdowns, and then 4 weeks later we're doing the same thing on the same employer because somebody new came in from that employer, instead of realizing you've already done the hard work. It's already there. You don't
Yep.
need to verify benefits. You just need to verify eligibility for that patient.
Yep. Eligibility, history, and that's pretty much it.
That's it. Making life easier for everybody out there. So I really appreciate you doing this, and I'm glad you came in today to do it.
Yeah. Yeah. Me too.
Yeah. And thanks again, and everybody. Hopefully, if you have any questions, you reach out to us. Melissa's in the Facebook group too, so reach out to her too, and you can ask her a question about this instead of plugging me.
I'm okay with that.
All right. Well, thanks again for doing it. Talk to you soon.
Oh, you're welcome. Alrighty.